for somebody to have
in the
one cactus
snow.
or multiple cacti in the map is located in the winter in France. So
like they die,
speaking
you
of
have
France,
to
it is a
keep it
Bastille Day
heated.
today. So there you go. Anyway, you're talking over me. That's rude. Who taught you manners?
Nobody. I was raised by wolves.
Raised by wolves. There you go. See, Thatcher and Zofia are going to be the bans. Michael, Zofia is not a common ban, but she just pop up time and time again. Do you want to break that down for the people watching?
The Zofia ban is just if you feel like your enemy team is going to make more use out of an operator that is commonly used by both teams, you get rid of it. You can look at the stats for your opponent really easily. Most of these teams have access to CGG's pro stats, so they like look at those stats. They go, oh hey, okay, looks like the Sonics are really good with Zofia. So Mirage says, let's ban Zofia. You can make do without her. She just sometimes works for particular players, and the stats do back that up. I think, yeah, for the Sonics, they make excellent use of Zofia. Statistically, it's a good op for them.
So the Chalet meta has, I don't want to say settled, but at least we start to see some consistency here. If you are new to watching the NA League or competitive play at this level and you watch Chalet, you'll know that there are 3 viable bomb sites on this map. The downstairs bomb site, which you'll see frequently in ranked or even casual or unranked, depending on how you play, not exactly the greatest for the defenders. So be surprised, be as surprised as we will be if that downstairs garage bomb site is where any of these teams choose to go. Instead, the 2 most standard sites tend to be upstairs in bedroom and office, and then over by bar and gaming. So seeing kitchen come up right away isn't abnormal, but it is definitely not a site that every team will go to right off the hop. It is still defendable, of course, and we'll see how Mirage can put it together.
I have to correct myself real quick. I was meant to say Mirage. I think I said Sonics when I was talking about the Zofia ban. But the stats are the same. I just mixed up the teams. Anyway, Mirage, not going to be able to use that Zofia. Both teams actually are good with that operator, though. So I don't know if it was a totally necessary ban, but if you want to force something to be uncomfortable for your opponent, that's the way to do it. Looks like it's going to be a heavy roam upstairs here on the dining defense here for Mirage. This is what we've come to expect on this site. Most of the time, we're seeing a lot of avoiding the bottom floor on Chalet in the NAL, and I think we'll see that reflected in this match as well.
Now, there's a couple interesting things about Chalet that we don't see on a ton of other maps. Number 1, Ying and Lion both have a disproportionate impact on this map. Number 2, Jackal tends to come out quite frequently where he isn't always brought on other maps. Flores is seeing play across a spectrum of levels, across the spectrum of tiers as well, so he's not much of a surprise. But because of the Zofia ban, Mirage is going to essentially triple up on this disruption, this chaos, etc. with a Wamai, a Jaeger, and also a Warden who doesn't have gadgets to stop these explosives and stop smokes and stuff like that, but instead he can look through them. Unfortunately for Mirage, Wamai, an operator who generates those discs over time, is the very first person to die and the first operator to die. And loading is removed from action. It's going to prompt Benji as he watches the Flores drone skate on by, possibly provoke a fight here. The first pick does go to the Sonics in roughly the first 30 seconds of play.
Mute Jammer on the other side of this wall. The question is, do they Maverick trick or do they simply get the Mute Jammer? Looks like it's going to be Yeti looking for it. Not able to find. I believe it's in the middle. There you go. Finally, the Mute Jammer is dealt with. It's super able to use his exothermic. Wall open now. The Sonics can start to launch their attack onto Office. Nyx, not a really easy position to hold, but he's got the right kit to do it with, and the assistance from the Mute Jammers will be great, but Grixer gets his second kill as Nyx peeks a little bit too far.
Unfortunately for Nyx, I think that was more of the perspective or less perspective and more just whatever aspect ratio he plays on, because for us, that Jackal was noticeable. Clear as day. Obviously doesn't do well for Mirage, though. With just a little bit over a minute to go, they find themselves down in a hole by 2 players. They'll try their best to be able to hold this one together with the Sonics going to work towards the office. So once they clear that top floor, keep in mind the Sonics then need to translate that to the bottom floor, which is where the bomb site is, or at least the first floor. Kitchen and dining. Sonics have a nice pinch here. They're still sitting up top in office with the numbers advantage. It's likely that somebody from SQ is going to remain up there, and they can keep somebody positioned inside of the main lobby as well. That means that you've got 2 players who can do vertical control and also flank watch over the remaining members of Mirage, and they're going to need it because Benji's trying to retake from the main lobby. Might catch somebody off guard. He does, but there's 2 sights from the Sonics to look in his direction. He tries his best, and even more work will need to be done by the 2 last members of Mirage sitting on site. Dream will need to patrol both above and across. Well, down goes Rexon. Dream finds his target, but it's Quartz in a 1v4, and he gets punished by Yeti. Very first round in convincing fashion will go to the Soniqs.
4K for Grixer. What a round for the man. He just tore through Mirage. Well played, and the clear upstairs using those frags to easily and breezily push through on the top floor. Not a lot of conversion, though, I gotta say. In terms of soft destruction and the use of the top floor pressure, Soniqs weren't great, but it didn't matter because Mirage took a lot of unnecessary risks. Nyx peeking over to the balcony, the flank attempt there from the Jaeger, that it was very predictable at that point. In 3 versus 5, you're going to try and make a playback, and that particular flank is super easy to read. You don't even need a drone for that one, really. So yeah, Soniqs pick up such a man advantage that it doesn't even matter that they're having trouble converting that top floor clear to a site hit, because Mirage is trying to claw their way back into the advantage column. So it was an interesting round, Parker, but I like the setup for Mirage. I also like that they're really trying to firmly hold their roam. This is something I've talked about ad nauseum at this point, but it's good that Mirage is trying to actually invest in where they're placing their utility, their rotations, their reinforcements, and their players, instead of just, hey, we're going to put it there and run away. Even if it, didn't work.
Second time will not be a charm for Mirage. Seldom do we see teams go to the same bomb site twice in a row, especially after losing it. Might as well go to one of the other ones that are viable. So Mirage will head upstairs to one of the 2 bomb sites that I mentioned in the start of the first round as being the standard defensive sites, and that'll be upstairs inside a bedroom and office. Soniqs are quick to the punch here. They've burned 30 seconds off of the clock, and they will realize very quickly that they've got library control, but Benji is playing in Chimney. He's going to sit there and wait. Nyx is under fire. He's the first person from Mirage to find anybody, and he's in the middle of the site. So is Rexon. He just drops, or what would be the site where they're playing over by Bar Gaming. So down goes Nyx, off on his own, trying to hold map control, unsupported. He falls. 2 rounds in a row where the Soniqs have got that first blood.
That's a good start there for Soniqs. Benji trying to answer back. Difficult position to play by Chimney, but he could do some work here if he lands the shots. And oh, no, shots landed on him. Grixer not missing much today. Loading, though, will get super. So there goes some of your hard breach. And as Rexon is also eliminated, oh, the chaos ensues. It's a 2 versus 2. When the dust starts to fall, Loading still has firm control of Piano and Dream for control of the site. So Kansan and Grixer have yet much work to do. Diffuser in hand, though, in a minute 30 to do the work with. This is not the end of the world for the Soniqs. It's definitely a good position for Mirage as they could just wait this out.
You try to push into the door of office where Loading has that cross lined up. A drone will desperately try to find some information, unsure if the mute jammers are in a position to stop it from getting in. If so, that's great. That's great, at least for the defenders. Dream gets spotted on a drone that pops on up, and shots are missed on both sides of that coin, and he'll reposition now. He knows that somebody's going to go towards the door. Smart work to get intel from that. Hands will now push up. Here's that the Soniqs know that the last 2 members of Mirage are nestled very safely in the back of the site, over by Solarium. They've got their job to be done. At least they think. I don't know if Loading has been spotted just yet, but it's him against the 2 last members of Soniqs. He loses his teammate. Dream is down for the count. Playing by the Piano and the Goyo shield. Loading will reposition. Once again, the less drones available, the more information Loading will have, but he gets smoked by Grixer, and Soniqs take 2 rounds in a row.
I mean, Grixer is putting on a master class right now. He is not missing his shots. This is some impressive play from the man. And Soniqs, they are ecstatic. All right, so let's talk about that. Once again, Mirage, firm roam, holding their positions, and they did a good job of it this time, too. It actually worked out. The roam was not really the problem there for Mirage. An even trade 2-2, that's pretty solid. You can usually hold that out as the last 2 defenders. They have the advantage in that situation because the attacking team, the Soniqs, cannot push a crossfire on any of the remaining anchors. So what does that mean? Well, it means that in order for the attackers to win in that scenario, they'll need to take their straight-up 1 versus 1 gunfights and win them. And that is easier said than done. Usually the attack, again, will try to leverage those crossfires to make it so you don't have a fair gunfight. That's part of an attacking strategy in Siege. But low manpower, you don't have that opportunity. It doesn't matter because Grixer's landing his shots, and it works out for the Soniqs. I mean, and he is really landing his shots.
What did he have to eat today?
What are they feeding him?
What are they feeding him? Oh, we're not allowed to say that. Oh.
No, but seriously, he's got 6 kills right now. And I don't know how many deaths because they changed that around. I think it's 0.
Yes. It's KDA now.
Yeah, I don't know.
The other thing, too, about Grixer is that he's been using his abilities in conjunction with that killing potential. I think it's hard to argue that Jackal has one of the best kits on attack. The only thing that he's really missing are explosives. He's got that secondary shotgun to do any soft destruction in a pinch. And, well, a map like Chalet, there's tons of vertical pressure you can put on the defense above, and that secondary ITA shotgun is going to come in really handy, obviously hunting down roamers and just simply being able to assess if somebody's been nearby without actually giving yourself away is a helpful gadget. And then the smokes, for crying out loud. And the Soniqs with the thermite on the board means that they could potentially have 4 smokes at their disposal. It's a good reason why Mirage is running the Wamai and Jaeger in conjunction with the Warden who can see through those smokes.
There's a lot of versatile play on both teams, to be honest. And yeah, I get the Warden pick. I know a lot of people are probably memeing about that, but he's actually pretty solid as far as operators go at a competitive level. If you're just trying to hold on to a position, you cannot lose it. Now, hard breach successful here for the Soniqs. They've got box open. This is not a top floor defense, though. This is a dining defense. So they need to convert this into a hit downstairs, and they have to clear out the roamers above before they can even do that.
Loading's got to rotate, and he'll look to retake. The very first blood for Mirage finally occurs in the 3rd round. It gets swiftly traded off as Grixer's 7th kill comes in onto the board. It's a bit of vengeance that he has to enact after Nyx gets credited with that very first kill. So back to a 4v4. This has been the slowest execute for map control that we've seen so far from the Soniqs, but it doesn't matter. I mean, each site is timed differently. Beautiful shot from Loading. He takes down Super, punishing him on the balcony door. That's Diffuser surrendered as well. Somebody from the Soniqs will be tasked with retrieving that, while also finding the remaining members of Mirage, which they've got a ping on over by Solarium, but there's a reinforced wall there to stop Grixer from netting the kill.
Yeah, you're going to need to get that diffuser, and it's beyond a gate. Kansan will just eat that gate. He doesn't seem to care about the little bit of HP it's going to cost him. Diffuser in hand now, and again, these attackers need to convert this to a site hit. This is the most difficult part of any Chalet attack. When you get the roam clear done, you have to hit the site after. You've already lost too many bodies here for the Soniqs. Now they're the disadvantage. Luckily, Rexon's got a can opener in his pocket, and he'll take care of the drop.
They'll allow them to do something with the final 20 seconds here as Grixer's in hot pursuit. Benji, target acquired. He's finished off, loading on a sliver of HP as well. Still winnable for the Soniqs, but it's getting dire. A 3v3, smokes going out, loading there, able to stop him, guns down Kansan, pivots for a second, Grixer finds that, continues to march forward, 8 kills, could break double digits. On a mark, but he gets shut down by Quartz, Diffuser might be a mile away, so Rexon will need to do some work. He finds one, but only a second to go to grab the other, and the clock will give the round to Mirage.
Big win there for Mirage, and just waiting out that time, again, that's conversion from the roam clear to the site hit, so difficult, and Sonic's not up to the task in that round. It's funny to say, but sometimes little mistakes go a long way. Not in every match in Siege, mind you, but in this one. Grixer looking to the default cam instead of keeping his aim trained where he knew an enemy to be in West Lobby. That made all the difference. And it's what's allowed Quartz to easily win his heads-up gunfight, and thus Mirage get their first round. You know, it's always a stack of things that result in a win for a round. It's never any one thing, but sometimes you can point out those little mistakes as they go quite a long way.
Well, second time was the charm there for Mirage, and I do think a lot of it also came with those early incursions that we saw and the little skirmishes from the Soniqs and Mirage, especially with both Yeti and Super going down. Yeti's stats have not been the best so far this split, and that's because he's been playing a lot of those thankless roles while allowing Kansan, Grixer, and Rexon to really flourish. And obviously somebody with the veteran leadership that Yeti brings, and the fact that he's older, and I mean, he's going to be on hard breach duty once you hit the age of 22, it means that you're going to see your stats suffer a little bit. The Soniqs then having to pivot. Thank goodness for that can opener that Rexon had access to, that hard breach charge as a secondary gadget going down. But unfortunately for them, it meant that there wasn't enough hard breach to go around. And despite that, the Sonics still kept it really close. And were there a couple more seconds on the clock, it's possible, maybe not likely, but possible, that Rexon could have hunted down that final kill, or in very least put himself in a 50-50 for it.
Yeah, there's definitely a chance. And, well, what I will say is, even though Mirage did win that round, this has still felt a lot like a Sonics map so far. And a big part of that is Grixer's dominance, his presence that he's allowed to, or that he's allowing his team to use to make space. It's working out quite well. The question is, when will that stop working? Because I don't know that I've seen probably like, I'll say like 10 matches in all of my time watching Siege where somebody has an amazing performance throughout the match and they drop like 25 plus kills or whatever. It's just not very common. So at some point, it's likely Grixer will drop off a map. And where will the rest of Sonics be at that point?
Well, that's why you got to hope that there's some depth on this team. The other two highly rated players on Sonics, Kansan and Rexon, are both sitting at 3 kills combined, so you have to hope that they're able to find something at some point, though Grixer has been consuming all the oxygen in the room for his team. We're almost halfway through round number 4, and we're getting our very first glimpse of bar gaming. This tends to be one of the favored sites for a lot of teams. Frost tends to also pop up quite often. Instead, Mirage is not going to use her. They really like this Warden pick. I think he's almost got a 100% pick rate so far for them. I can't recall if he showed up in round number 2, but 1, 3, and 4 so far he's here. Lion as well on the board, as SQ really does like this lineup of the dual hard breachers. And
whoa,
Grixer's just in the site. All right, but maybe it was a bait, trying to lure everybody else out. From Mudroom, there's Kansan. He might get contested, though, by loading. He's primed and ready. Nyx drops, and there's loading flashed out after the Wamai magnets get taken down. Grixer's still in there, by the way. He's bleeding out, but the rest of his team is trying to find what they can. Marks in for the remaining members of Mirage, and Kansan pivots around. He's going to need to go for something. He can't do it. Grixer's still there, and that should be a 2-piece for loading, but he's got his eyes set on Rexon, who's next in line. Benji finished off by Yeti, and this advantage for the Sonics is still there. And that's the round. All right. A confusing back and forth. The very first defense on this bomb site for Mirage does not go their way, and the Sonics are up 3-1.
Okay, I want to point out a couple things. Number one, Mudroom went completely uncontested by the defenders. We've seen this as common. When defending bar, typically Mudroom is just given over to the attackers. That's where we saw the Lion holding the rotation. A lot of work done there from Kansan. Number two, the freedom of access to the site inside of Mirage is troubling. You should not be leaving holes in your defense like that. We've seen that gap left in that particular site by many teams in the NAL, actually. This is not uncommon, but it's still a mistake that needs to be corrected. Number three, Grixer was in bar, downed and unfinished ever since, like, for a solid, 30 seconds at least? I don't know. He was sitting in by the jukebox calling out everyone in the bar on defense while his teammates started to apply pressure and take fights. That's why the Sonics were allowed to take those fights so confidently. It's because they had info from a down teammate. Why didn't he get finished off? I don't think that they saw him. That's the only that's the only excuse that I can come up with. They just didn't see him, but I still find it surprising that someone didn't find the opportunity. Anyway, the direct access strategy employed there by the Sonics, it worked. And it seems to be the best bet when attacking bar these days.
Oh, back upstairs for yet another attempt at bedroom and office. And the good news is, if you're Mirage, your second attempt on kitchen worked out. Maybe you just need to sacrifice blood to the blood god and then go back and you'll win it your second time. I'm not entirely certain. We'll see. Talked about Frost coming in and its dream to play the operator, the Canadian operator, in fact, replacing the Warden that he was on previously. I'm assuming that this is designed for a library hold. I didn't see where all the mats went down. Actually, doesn't look like any of the mats are in library at all. Okay, well, solarium, maybe? There they are. There's one in piano. There's one in bathroom. Who knows where the other one is, unless I'm blind.
Yeah, beats me. But
Could still have one in his pocket, but he's been sitting on cam, so we can't see what his utility is at the moment.
Right.
Hey, devs, fix that. Anyway, Grixer is dead. Quartz is able to win that gunfight. Looks for a second, cannot connect. Yeti comes in and they both spray wildly. A very messy fight in front of our very eyes. Court's down for the count, but Grixer being silenced is good news for Mirage, if not for the fact that Yeti is now only a single kill behind his teammate.
Yeah, definitely more slack Yeti's going to have to pick up, but he's low now. So even though Quartz puzzlingly didn't win that fight, he did do the damage that's going to help win future fights. Mute Jammer dealt with there. Super opens up the wall, and now we've got direct site access. Next thing to do is deal with the players inside of Piano. Or player, actually, as it's just Benji. He's got support from loading farther back. Mirage have a good lineup to hold this, and the shield is going to go a long way in assisting that.
Oh, and there's a tiny bit of damage done to Benji, but Kansan is down for the count. Yeti also afterwards. After that initial skirmish, he's low on HP. Things not looking great for Soniqs right now, so maybe that trend line does hold for Mirage. Benji still sitting on this piano. The shield actually didn't disappear. Nitro Cell from Nyx goes out. There's no target to be found, so Nyx will instead pivot and look towards the balcony doorway. We know there's somebody out there. It's Super. He's trying to get as much intel as he possibly can. It's been about 30 seconds since we started focusing on this, and, well, unfortunately for Mirage, they are wasting time, and Kansan just narrowly missing out, and I don't know if he heard that damage that he did through the floor. Rexon finds Dream. The Soniqs now have a lead as Kansan has been picked back up, and Nyx swings. He'll connect onto Yeti. 15 seconds left to go. Nyx knows that there's still somebody out on the balcony unless they vaulted in the window. Does he have that information? Smoke will distract him. He doesn't have a Nitro Cell to use. He sees the thermite pops up. The Soniqs are bleeding. It's Rexon now in a 1v3, 5 seconds left, and he knows he's got nowhere to go. He's on a wire. Does he save the KD? Yeah, he will. That's Mirage taking the site for the second time. So all they need to do is play the same site twice. The good news for them is that they're likely going to go back to Kitchen. They win it again? Who knows? We'll see. Mirage gets around, but still Soniqs 3-2.
Well done there to Mirage. They seem to be good on these sites that reflect each other. Kitchen and top floor. I've talked about that before, how the strategy can be similar for both because, I mean, it's just one site above the other and the other below it. So Nyx was the big problem there for the Soniqs, obviously, and we got to see that front and center when the execution came out. Mute is the perfect operator to hold that position for two reasons. Reason number one, the SMG-11, and number two, the shotgun. SMG-11 is the highest DPS gun of the game besides the BOSG, which doesn't count, and the shotgun is a one-shot machine. So well done there to Nyx for holding his position at close range, winning his fights. That's exactly what his job was. He did it perfectly. More puzzling is the counterplay that we saw from Soniqs, or lack thereof, or at least the unsuccessful, counterplay that we saw. He had Kansan going downstairs, for example, trying to shoot him through the floor, and if he's able to get Nyx off that position, whole game just changes. The execution becomes much easier, and your plant behind default wall is 100% facilitated. You can do that. That just didn't happen. I mean, the attempt was made, it was a failure, and there's not a whole lot else done to deal with Nyx. And you have to expect him in that position, so I'm surprised there wasn't more in the pocket of Soniqs.
Oh. I speculated they might go back to Kitchen, but no. They like going to the site a second time and then winning it. Try it the first time, you lose. Go to it a second time, you win. That's so far the trend line for Mirage. And by Jove, they're going to do just that on Bar Gaming, Michael.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Some small change-ups here. They like the lineup that they had on the previous round, so they're going to bring it. Again, for the most part, they've subbed out the Mute and they brought in a Rooney, but Dream is going to be reunited with that Frost. You've got Wamai who's been playing them, or you've got Loading who's been playing Wamai quite effectively, Benji on the Jaeger. How different is this game if Benji is trading out his deaths and is doing better on his defensive roam than we see from the entry point on the Soniqs? This could be a completely different game, but we'll see if Benji picks it up on attack. He typically plays their Zofia, if memory serves me correctly, so we'll have to flex on to a different rule now that she's not available. Anyway, there's been a minute through the round. Soniqs' focus has been on both Trophy and Office thus far. Grixer's been dispatched over to Solarium to take that portion of the map, and that's where we stand right now.
Slow round here. Really slow, compared to what we've been seeing for the most part in this match. Right about Zofia, by the way, for Benji. So that's going to be different for him. Part of it might be why Soniqs banned the Zofia, just to get rid of that for him. But We'll find out. Get to the second half. Now it's a battle to go even on first half. Mirage definitely want to get that 3-3. Mudroom control here for the Sonics. They're set up well to hold off the push, though. On Quartz, he's got backstairs control, and that should be the linchpin position. The smokes, though, are going to make his hold a little bit difficult, as he will lose a lot of his visual.
Metrocell from Quartz went out to try and contest Mudroom. It was a point of contention you said earlier on in this game where Mirage wasn't holding it anywhere near as effectively as they needed to. Quartz has been isolated by this smoke, which now clears in front of him, giving him a line of sight over towards the lobby. Slaps down Yeti. That was all a distraction so that the split entry from the Sonics could try to capitalize on it, but it doesn't work out. That leaves just 30 seconds left on the clock. There's another silhouette down below. He wasn't expecting a second, and it's Grixer to break 9 kills and now try to ascend those stairs. Nyx falls to Rexen. Kansan still holds on to Mudroom, and they've got a cross established. It's going to be falling onto the shoulders of Dream to try and stop that in his spot, and now even more is going to go in his favor as everybody else is dying around him. Benji from above, he'll take out Super. Orange goes the kill feed, but then back towards the blue, and Rexen will make sure that Sonics take the first half by a score of 4-2.
Wow. It's the battle of feints for the Sonics. Beautiful execution there. I love everything about it. The first push downstairs was meant to be feinted for. The smoke that went into the hallway above. That's Yeti's distraction, right? Obviously. And I thought that Sonics, that was all they had up their sleeves. But then, another player from downstairs. It's Grixer. So it turns out the smoke was a distraction for Yeti, who was a distraction for Grixer. The layering continues when you transfer over to the top floor clear, or even the site hit directly. Every push that Sonics put out there was in turn a distraction for another push elsewhere. The Jaeger from above. I genuinely thought that Jaeger above, I think it was Benji, would be able to hold onto the site using the holes that were pre-made for him. I thought that, okay, there's so little time on the clock, Benji's going to be able to hold this one out until the timer hits 0. But no, because as the Sonics are pushing into the site downstairs, turns out that's a distraction for a push upstairs to deal with Benji. So it took a long time for Sonics to get their execution out there. But once they did, they had so many layers and so many distractions that Mirage just wasn't prepared to deal with all of them. It's beautiful stuff. Love Siege like that.
We'll switch sides here. No teams have taken a timeout just yet, by the way, Michael.
It's a very fast-paced match, Parker.
It has. It's only been about 25 minutes or so, and we're already through the first half, given that a typical match at top-level play ranges from 45 minutes to an hour. Well, this one is about where you'd expect it to be at a 4-2 scoreline halfway through. If we need overtime, we're very likely hit the 50-minute mark for a matchup, but they've been quite brisk. The Sonics spent some rounds trying to execute fast and others being a bit more deliberate with the defenses that were set up by Mirage. We'll flip the script and see if Mirage can maintain that same pace on attack. They've brought a very different look, subbing in a Nomad and a Yana, dropping the 0, dropping the Maverick too. For the Sonics, the only thing that they're bringing that you didn't see before is a Malusi, and speaking of, that is not a Yana clone at all. Mudroom has been a huge focus for both of these teams, and Nyx will make Yeti pay from that spot. But now Nyx battling Grixer with tiny bit of ammunition left. He'll have to reload as he now watches for Nyx on the stairs. There's a Banshee there to slow him down. Grixer's feeling good today, and he broke double digits. He's looking to continue to do that and almost takes advantage of Nyx as a bunch of flashbangs go up. Dream will now drone him out. Grixer, does he see the drone? Yes, he does, but his focus is on fragging, not on stopping that drone. Look at how much time he's wasted.
Yeah, he's done a great job of wasting time, utility, and HP. Nyx isn't dead, but he's really low. He'll die to a shot from anybody at this point. Meanwhile, we do have roamers downstairs. That's Super. He's going to get the heck out of dodge, but there's a Jackal behind him, which means he will be tracked. Now, that probably won't matter as he's working his way back to site, but still information gathered for Mirage, who have yet to clear out the library side of things, Parker. Nyx is finally making that push. Turns out he actually did survive the single bullet. I thought he would have died, but no. Grixer's been down from the balcony, but I don't think the attack even knows about that. Finally finish him off as they actually put 2 kills together, making this a 2 versus 4. Super and Kansan now, tall task to hold out on this site.
Yeah, this one might be a little bit too tough for them. It really depends on what utility Mirage has left and where they're going to expend it. Dream gets found out by Super, who immediately peels back. That's Diffuser down on the balcony, so the Sonics have themselves in a decent position. But 30 seconds is plenty of time for Mirage to be able to do this. There goes, by the way, a Nitro cell, and Super looking for more, playing around that wall. He gets shot from long range by Benji, and now it's Kansan to the rescue in a 1v3. Trying to hold this together. Steel utility going out. Does Kansan see the Rotero drone? No, he doesn't, and it's going to go off and flushes him right into the Nomad, but he doesn't look to the right, he looks to the left. Wrong way on just a tiny bit of HP. Nyx ends up being such a crucial component of that round, and his play and his ability to survive is key for Mirage to take their very first attack.
You saw there that the Sonics were trying to get a little bit aggro, Super and Kansan both, because they knew they were at a 2 versus 4. You got to go for the aggro plays to put yourself back in a man advantage, or at least even things out. Otherwise, you're just going to lose when the trades start coming out. And, well, it didn't work out for them because Mirage were playing smart. They were playing safe, far back. That's how you should handle that situation. When you have the advantage, use your drones, know where you're taking your fights. Good stuff there from Mirage. Nice lockout. It was a frost map, by the way. I had to check it. I'm pretty sure it was a frost mat that found the player vaulting in through the balcony.
Well, Michael, it's time for us to talk about the community skins, the R6 share skins, and even the regional skins. We'll talk about the Sonic skin. It's the TCSG. Yeah, it's a gun you don't see all that often, but the skin's pretty cool. You can get it right now. The sales directly support the Sonics, and of course, any of the R6 share skins and any of the League skins, of which there is also a Castle skin for the August Major. Some of that money goes back to support the League, as well as the team skins supporting the teams and the players themselves. And you can get that in-game, whatever you'd like.
I have to imagine that when the Sonics were planning their skin and they chose the TCSD 12, it was pre-TCSD 12 nerf, that was before the 2020 Invitational. That was a long time ago, but I have to imagine that's why they picked the TCSD 12, because it fell off a cliff of popularity after they nerfed it. It really is not the same gun anymore.
Correct. They are buffing it, though. I don't know if you saw those recent developer notes.
I think that's good. They over-nerfed it, for sure.
I mean, it was so effective.
Was
NIP very nearly won a world championship in 2020 with the TCSGs being a very crucial part of their strategy. And then, well, they won it again with the TCSG not being anywhere near as integral for them. So still world champs, by the way. The very first Brazilian team to win the world championship at SI just a couple months ago. Anywho, this is an entirely different contest, and we'll be back to some international scene and international battles at the Mexico Major next month. But until then, there's still spots on the line. The only NA team that's qualified is Space Station. The only other team outside of that that's qualified is Cyclops Athlete Gaming. Frankly, I'm kind of surprised that NIP isn't qualified for it.
I mean, I'm sure they will be at some point, Parker.
Oh, I have no doubt. Anyhow.
Yeah. C4 downstairs does not work out for Yeti, and that's a bad start there. Super, really awkward position. He's going to try and keep his life as he falls back in kitchen. Pterodrone's coming in to try and push him out of position, but he's actually already relocated. Trophy control firmly in hand here for Mirage, and Quartz going to use the nade to possibly get this kill into Super. Ooh, not even that much damage done. Surprising. Countertop probably protecting Super in that position.
Mirage stack up right now, Michael, is all by Trophy, and they've got lots of soft destruction and soft walls in front of them. And while that first grenade didn't work on Super, the second one connects beautifully. Now Quartz can just walk right into the site, or march in, depending on how much moxie he has. But Rexon will chew through both of them. 2 huge kills. Yeti one as well. Diffuser down, and they know they've got case control. The Sonics have everything going for them at the moment. Add to the fact that Nyx is only a tiny bit of HP, but last round, with just 1 HP, Nyx was able to do so much damage. Will we see a repeat? With 40 seconds left, the 2 members of Mirage will need to find the 4 from Sonics and make that just 1. Nyx is gone, loading is gone, the round is gone for Mirage in favor of Sonics. It's a 5-3 game for the team in teal.
That was an incredibly linear attack, Parker. Basically just, hey, let's take control of Trophy and then hit site direct. Yeah, it didn't work out. It didn't work out at all. It's going to be a Mirage tactical timeout off of the back of that loss, and I think that's the right call. You're down 5-3 now. You've got to make your recovery now. You can't wait any longer. Next round that Soniqs wins, it's match point, and we're a step away from defeat. So see what you could correct. That last round, good example would have been vertical play. Instead of simply going straight for a trophy push, maybe clear above, do a little bit of vertical, open some holes. That way you don't have to rely on winning your gunfights to dislodge these defenders from these really powerful anchor positions, like the one we saw Yeti playing. The nades worked for Super, but that only got them so far, as Super was playing in the death trap. And once it was free and clear, the attackers walked into that death trap, and, well, they died. I'm not surprised. I don't know. Good setup there for the Soniqs, and Mirage definitely going to need to work on their attacks.
What game was it last week where after a team took a timeout, they won? Was it Mirage versus Xset? They took a timeout, and then they went on to win every round after that until the next timeout was called, and then it flipped.
Yeah, I think it was Mirage versus Xset, because I don't remember it in Auction versus Soniqs.
At the moment, with the way that things are shaping up, this does look like a very slightly attacker-favored Chalet, which is what we come to expect with this map. The stats tend to back that up, and I'm sure at some point it might change as teams start to understand how to defend a little bit better, or maybe it won't. Maybe it'll be like a coastline where it will forever be doomed to be in favor of the attackers, and defenders will weep like little babies every single time they come to this map. Who knows?
You know, I think we actually had a season, like, really long time ago. Back when we were still in Poland, I think we had like one season where Coastline was puzzlingly defender-sided.
Was that the same season where Villa was puzzlingly attacker-favored?
Maybe. I remember. This was a long time ago.
There was a season where I remember we were doing it, and we're like, oh, Villa's been played 7 times, and it has a 54% win rate for the attackers? Okay, that's abnormal. So.
I think that one was more recent. But no, the Coastline season was a long time ago, and it was a total blip on the... Like, it was... What's the term? What's the idiom, Parker? Where it was really uncommon. It didn't happen again. It just happened. Sure, fine. It was rare. It happened and didn't happen again. It was super unpredictable.
An outlier, Michael.
Yeah.
It was an outlier.
Thank you.
Abnormality, whatever you'd like to call it.
Sure. Yeah, anyway, yeah. And then Coastline went right back to being its normal attacker side itself. What is this?
Well, it looks like Mirage are just storming on in. They're not wasting any time whatsoever. 30 seconds into the round, and 2 players from Mirage are in West Main right now. First confrontation could come with Super, and Dream is actually going to drone him out. Super sees the bullets go through the wall. He knows somebody's down below, and I'm sure he's sounding the alarms. This team will now be wary of this. Super picked off, though, by Dream, who might as well be in a totally different zip code. And now he'll drop. The one person who could have stopped Mirage from taking control of Solarium is now gone, so the remaining 4 members of Soniqs will now need to look in that direction as well for this defense.
Bomb located by attackers.
Great early pick there onto Super. But to be honest with Super, as I think we've all come to expect, I think he might even be more helpful dead sometimes, because he is going to be one of your de facto leaders, and he's going to be able to gather a lot of information and relay that to his team from the position he now finds himself in. So it's not the worst early pick for the Soniqs, and I'm not being sarcastic, I do mean that. Obviously, you want to keep a body up whenever you can, but I don't think Soniqs are stressing this too much. They still have the roamers downstairs. That's in a flank position. Yeti can do a lot of work if he's not dealt with. There are edge apps, but what's this? The plant is going down. Somebody needs to stop this. The C4 from below is stopped, and the diffuser planted. Rexon now in a 1 versus 3 as he is isolated over by a bathroom door, trying to retake from office. He's got a lot of visual aid here, but not a lot of targets presented to him. One on the stairs, though, that's Nyx, and he'll land his shot. The post plant played well there by Mirage. Great isolation.
By my count, that's the first successful diffuser being planted, and it took 9 rounds for it to be accomplished in what's been an absolute slugfest of a game. Kudos to Mirage. That timeout obviously working well. One of the most confident rounds that we've seen from either of these teams yet. Mirage knew that they could take control very quickly. They enter from downstairs. They go into West Main. Only one player from the Soniqs is sitting on those Solarium stairs. He's punished by a great strategy. Pinched from below, but also wary of the 2 windows where Dream was playing. The kill comes out. Dream immediately pushes up. And once that Solarium wall falls, the bedroom office site is so hard to hold. Now, the thing is that the Soniqs were set up for a Solarium take. You can see from the deployable shields and where the operators were positioned, they were aligned and looking in that direction. But one thing they weren't expecting was the cross from Big Window, and there was nobody to stop the immediate push from Mirage through that breach in Solarium to get the diffuser down. All hell broke loose after that, and even with Super being the very first casualty, no amount of good comms can work against a team like Mirage that seemed to have every single crossfire established on you. It went from a 4v4 to a 3v1 very quickly. So kudos to Mirage. And Mirage can play spoiler here. There's, this race for Mexico is still wide open, Michael.
Yeah.
But the Sonics are one of the favored teams right now. They're sitting in third, technically tied in second with TSM with 10 points.
Yeah.
But a win would be absolutely huge. Mirage really liked something that they saw from that timeout, by the way, because history is about to repeat itself. Both Nyx and Court side by side getting droned in by Dream as they take West Main yet again in the first 30 seconds. This is exactly what happened in round 9.
Yeah, it's the same execution in terms of the roam clear, but a different site, obviously. So Mirage are going to have to translate this into a top floor clear, and they are going to do that. Taking a little bit of time to do it, but they are going to get it done. Every second does matter when you're going for a long, full clear like the one Mirage is showing us right now. All the way up to Office, though, and Piano is fully clear. So Mirage does not need to worry. As soon as they get that control, they have it well in hand. Sonics are only set up above and below their site. They just want to hold on to what they've got and not overextend themselves. That usually works on this site because of the double shield setup by top backstairs and Chimney. Those two shields make pushing from the top floor really difficult, and it's why we've seen from the Sonics, for example, a lot of downstairs takes when attacking the bottom, or when attacking bar.
Well, Mirage have the map control that they want. The Sonics need to be aware of this. 90 seconds have been burned. An entry that came from Mirage was in the first 30, so a minute to try and reorient themselves and figure out what's next. First bar game defense for the Sonics. Their setup looks very similar. You want to hold Chimney, you want to hold some of Library, you might have somebody holding Library stairs. It allows you to police the window, it allows you to watch the entry points that will come on that second floor from Piano, and then of course also survey lobby. First casualty is going to come out though for the Sonics. If they win this round, then they're going to go to match point, and obviously their hunt to be at the major will be a little bit more successful, and the likelihood of them going will be even higher. They essentially trade out Yeti though for one player from Mirage, leaving Sonics up in a 4v3. Loading now at the doorway. Air jab out. We'll try to isolate somebody playing on those stairs. It's going to be Grixer who will have to contend with this air jab. Quartz falls to Rexon. A 4v2. You can hear it going. Dream's going to march on in, finds cans, and Loading is up next to try and head into the site. Does he know that anybody's in there? No, it actually looks like it's vacated. So where is he going to go? He's got Dream above, but he's on cam. He doesn't even manage to shoot it, by the way. The cam is still up, and he's punished by Rexon, who's now going to drop. Loading in a 1v3. He doesn't have a ton of HP. This is dire for Mirage. Diffuser is also about a mile away, and Loading knows that if he goes to retrieve it, he's going to have to drop those main stairs towards Fireplace, make some noise in the process. But it's Rexon to shut him down. The Frost playing upstairs inside of Library.
Yeah, and the default cam was still up, Parker.
6-4 for the Sonics.
You called it when it happened. He missed the shot, and I think he called out that that was clear because those are hard red marks coming in on that last player. And you're not going to win that fight with a sliver of HP. That's a 4K for Rexon in the round, and he really was the artillery battery deep in Library holding down the fort. Exactly what the Sonics needed right there, where you have your kind of periphery hold crumbling. You're losing players by Chimney, you're losing players by Library stairs, and things are looking a little bit dire, but then there's Kansan. He's got his 1.5 on his Frost SMG, and he's ready to take the fights, and well, he won 4 separate ones. 4 separate 1v1s, too. I mean, that's also partially on Mirage for not stacking up on him. Well done there to the Sonics. Good hold on the top floor. And that, by the way, that round is a perfect example of why it is so difficult to clear top floor on that site, and why we often see teams instead try to hit bar gaming directly, like the Sonics did on their attacking half.
Well, still a spirited and good showing so far from Mirage. If you are a team that wants to be in the top 4, you might not win every game, but you at least need to bring the heat to the top teams that you're going to be competing against, as your peers will be the teams that are in 1st through 4th, because that's the magic number to qualify for most of these majors. Mirage has been fascinating to watch over their debut here because they obviously achieved very high results in the very first split and are showing up when they need to. Obviously, small things that still need to be ironed out, but there's obviously a very promising future for this team. An early entry from them, though, will at least blunt the momentum of the Soniqs, who want to put this matchup away. And with the Soniqs sitting on match point, they'll have 2 opportunities to do that before overtime is required. A 5v4 for Mirage in the remaining 2 minutes and 30 seconds bodes very well for MRG.
Sounds completely different when you say it like that.
I know.
We've got the Soniqs peeling off from their library hold. They set up shields for it. They set up reinforcements over there. They were trying to, delay on library side for a while, but first casualties in, and they'll decide to try and bolster their defenses elsewhere. Still roaming, just above. And Rexon will answer the earlier kill. This time it's going to be Benji on the floor. So 2 players dead already that haven't been that influential in the match thus far. Not the end of the world for either team. They could still both definitely make a recovery here. And I think the round really is just getting started.
Well, we're just past that 2-minute mark, and the even footing that these teams find themselves on obviously is going to be very helpful for the Soniqs. They lost Kansan, who has statistically been their worst player so far in this matchup. Go figure. That doesn't happen all that often. Benji obviously having some issues with that Zofia being banned, playing on Ashe. He ended the first half, if I recall correctly, he went 1-4 or 1-5. He's now 3-9, so his struggles from defense have absolutely carried over onto attack. He's not the only player that's struggled, so I don't want to just point him out and him alone, but obviously doesn't help the team all that much that he's not performing up to the standards that he usually is, and he came in as the highest rated player of Mirage. Final minute now, Michael, for Mirage to be able to pull off this execute against Soniqs, or else Soniqs takes the match.
And nade on Yeti by the dining table actually went into a little bit of a cubby there. So a well-placed nade could still dislodge him from that position, but there's no more left of Mirage. They brought 4, they used 4. None of them really met the results that they wanted. With the wall open, though, there's still a good attack avenue for Mirage. I think they're waiting for Nyx to maybe do some vertical. He's solo clearing above. Nothing coming of it yet. Nice pre-fire from Quartz. Down goes Yeti. He was one of the biggest problems on this attack, but Super will answer from the A-bomb chassis, continuing to do damage even to Quartz. The pre-fires of Quartz not working out this time, and time is of the essence here for these attackers. With the C4 missing from Grixer, though, that opens up the opportunity for a plant. Down goes loading in the main lobby, though. Quartz with the diffuser in hand has a sliver of HP. It's not going to be easy for him, and he's on the floor too. Another 4K for Rexon, and that's it. GG's. The Soniqs will take the match.
Well, boy, a 7-4 scoreline would suggest that it was a relatively dominant performance from the team that collected those 7 rounds. And don't get me wrong, the Soniqs deserve to win that matchup. But some of those rounds were a lot closer than the number would suggest for both teams, for the record. And obviously, for Mirage, they're not going to be happy with this result, let's be completely honest. But I think that there are a lot of good things that they can take from this matchup. Coordination, in terms of team play, in terms of killing ability, and a lot of the mistakes that I saw often came in ways and from things that can be quite easily fixed, Michael. So if you are the coach or on the support side of things for Mirage, you can iron out these issues and try to hope that they don't crop up again.
Yeah, really not the end of the world for Mirage. They did have some really cool attacks. I like the way that they attack the top floor, especially from that bottom basement to middle floor sort of attack strategy where they come up from below. That was a really efficient way of clearing out the roamers, because Chalet still has a problem with that. Sometimes the roamers can be pesky on that map, but they're starting to find their own rhythm. The Soniqs just straight better on the individual level, and they have the same amount of coordination. Just as much good strategy on Sonic side as there was on Mirage's side, but then you also have Mirage picking up 2 4Ks, 18 kills total. I mean, that sorry, did I say... Yeah, I said Rexon, is the one who picked up 2 4Ks and 18 kills total. Overall, a really well-played match from both teams, though.
Those are 3 huge points for Soniqs as well. They now take over sole possession of second place in the NA League. 3 points ahead of TSM. TSM is going to be in action later today against XSET. They're one of the 3 matches that are still left, and we want to get to them and not deprive you of the action. So we'll throw to a break and then the desk, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.